In a vitriolic and very public falling out, Peter Costello's one-time political ally and friend Michael Kroger has described how the former Treasurer sought his help to stage a return to federal politics. Michael Kroger says Peter Costello needs to make amends with all the former Liberal leaders he's maligned. Mr Costello has dismissed the story as a lie, calling his old friend irrelevant. From Canberra, political correspondent Tom Middleton has more.
It's the end of a political affair begun more than 30 years ago.
He's got that intangible asset of leadership.
They were the perfect team, Peter Costello, the articulate rising star, and Michael Kroger, the astute political wingman.
He has a natural authority, he's a dominant personality, he has presence, and he's got style.
The friendship began in the 70s at Melbourne's Monash University Student Union. The pair were so formidable, Peter Costello was bashed by a leftist rival. Michael Kroger made sure everyone on campus knew about it.
The left were branded as extreme thugs by Michael Kroger's Liberal Club pressers.
And he helped Peter Costello win the seat of Higgins in 1990, launching his career in Canberra.
Many have said that you are prime ministerial material. Do you think you are?
It's not something I turn my mind to, actually.
But Michael Kroger says since leaving Parliament in 2007, Peter Costello's turned his mind to little else.
He was serious about returning to Canberra because Peter is one of those people that thinks, oh, well, you know, those that followed him, you know, no good. It'd be better if he were there. It'd all be better if he was running the show.
The feud goes back to 2008 when Mr Kroger became allied with then Liberal leader Malcolm Turnbull. Mr Kroger says that upset Mr Costello, who's also been running down Tony Abbott, calling him economically illiterate.
As all of his ex-friends know, lunch with Peter is an agony. It's a nightmare.
You sit there for 2 hours and all you do is go through Peter's list of enemies perceived and real. We start on John Howard and then he goes on to Alexander Downer and then we have Tax Alan Stockdale and Shane Stone and
Malcolm Turnbull and Robert Doyle and Michael Ronaldson and John Hewson and Andrew Peacock and party people like Jason Aldworth and Helen Kroger. The list goes on and on. The Kemp brothers.
And everyone else he's never liked. I mean, you know, this has just got to stop.
At a lunch at a private Melbourne club late last year, Mr Kroger says Mr Costello asked him to help shunt out junior coalition MPs. Mr Costello denies making the request, saying in a statement, what possible influence would he have? The Liberal Party is run by membership, not by factional bosses.
I don't drink, and I'm not suggesting he drank too much at that lunch, but I've got a very clear focus.
Mr Costello says it was Mr Kroger who contacted him, asking me to intervene to preserve the position of Senator Helen Kroger, Mr Kroger's ex-wife who'd been demoted on the Liberal Party Senate ticket. On budget night this week, there was an attempt to remove Mrs Kroger from her post as Senate Whip.
A couple of senators decided it's a good idea to challenge the Senate Whip's position and cause a national fight. And all hell broke loose. Tony Abbott had to get involved to put down this riot.
Mr Kroger says it was then his feud with Peter Costello became public inside the Liberal Party.
It's Peter pushing various things against people he doesn't particularly like anymore.
Each of the former best friends denies having either the interest or the ability to get involved in the political machinations they've been accusing each other of, but Liberal parliamentarians are appealing to the men not to use the party as their private battleground, even as Shadow Treasurer Joe Hockey got into an animated exchange with Michael Kroger at a Melbourne radio station.
When two people who are extremely close have a bit of a falling out and are still members of the family, it's pretty awful. But having said that, I wish they'd do it in private.
But the Costello camps tonight added fuel to the flames, with several sitting parliamentarians allied to the former Treasurer releasing statements describing Mr Kroger's comments as sad and disappointing and Mr Costello as honest and a hero of the party. The whole ruction's given the government a day off from the Craig Thompson affair.
They assume that they will win the next election and they're fighting over the spoils like a bunch of people who think that it's their toy thing, the Australian Parliament.
Expect to hear more of that when Parliament resumes in just over a week. Tom Middleton, Late Line.